John Anik and Kenny Florian Podcast. John Anik and Kenny Florian.
I f***ing love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole. They're a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, John Anik and Kenny Florian.
Headshot, bang.
Well, that's about as long as we go between episodes, 8 days. It's great to have you with us. Kenful looking lean and mean, looking like maybe a cruiserweight. No, looking like 100 and maybe 68 pounds today. But we're on a Tuesday. It's Earth Day, April 22, 2025. Happy birthday to my daughter, Tatum. Thanks to everybody for joining us. Episode 547 of the Anik Florian Podcast, presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Kenflo, crown is yours today. Wearing the fucking DraftKings hat. How we feeling?
My man. Hey, I'm trying to lose weight. I'm definitely not at 168. You're very kind. You're very generous. But, dude, it feels like 8 days. It feels like 18 days.
It does feel like a lot has happened.
Right?
I just got back from Magic Kingdom, Walt Disney World, Orlando, Florida. We were at Islands of Adventure yesterday at Universal Studios. And I might say, you know, I didn't go on my first roller coaster until I think I was 45 years old. I'm coming up on 47. My son is just all about it, right? He is afraid of so many things in life that are irrational. And yet on this roller coaster, he's like staring death in the face, hanging out of this thing that's hanging by a fucking thread, you know? Like, you know? He's like, Dad, truth or dare? I'm like, dare, you know? And he was like, go on the Hulk roller coaster. I'm like, bro, I mean, there's no way. I don't know if you've seen that thing. That looks like the scariest roller coaster in the world. And I know it's not that. Are you a roller coaster guy, Kenflo?
So when I was younger, I definitely was not. I was like, I'm going to die on that thing for sure. And then once they had those like more sophisticated straps that like secured my shoulders, I was like, okay, I'm like, my rational mind is liking this a lot more than, you know, just the strap. Like I always felt like that strap on the waist just wasn't going to hold me in.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, so it wasn't, but I was probably a little older, like in my teens, maybe 13, 14.
Gosh, I would have taken some shoulder straps at Magic Kingdom or Islands of Adventure this weekend. You know, I got scarred by the pirate ship. I don't know if it was at Great Woods or maybe that wasn't. No, Great Woods is a concert venue, not an amusement park, but wherever I was. I mean, is Canopy Lake Park? Does that sound right?
Yes, 100% it is.
Is that New Hampshire or no?
New Hampshire, kid. Yes.
That's where Cody Merrill lives.
Oh,
shout out to our producer.
Kid.
Yeah. So Canopy Lake Park. I'm on the pirate ship. I'm 11. I still think it might have, you know, had adverse long-term effects, you know, maybe not in terms of procreation, but, you know, I felt like my private part went up into my chest and I felt like I was going to perish, Kenny. The pirate ship, I didn't feel contained. And if you don't know, if you're watching on video, you can see the visual. If not, you sort of go up and it feels like you're going to fall out the fucking thing. Then you go the other side and it definitely feels like you're going to fall out. I didn't fall out, but that was the scar tissue at 11 that had me go 35 years between going on rides like that.
So you're talking about that ship that kind of just goes upside down like rocks?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So there was one that actually got stuck upside down for like an hour or so, maybe more. If anybody out there knows, put it in the comments. But like, dude, it was stuck up there. Imagine being upside down for hours and there's nothing you can do about it. Those things are crazy, dude. Yeah.
I don't want to sort of talk about like negative things, you know, but sometimes when you're waiting in line for these rides, right, you are in an area that is closed off from sunlight and oxygen. And I was on several rides. I went on Space Mountain for the first time.
Nice.
You can congratulate me if you want. I mean, it's dark, right? So it feels like you're going faster than 28 miles an hour. We'll get to the MMA in a little bit. By the way, Ray Longo coming up here in 10 minutes or so. Some would you rathers in the can. Some Ian Machado Garry, Carlos Prates stuff as well. I was actually going to smoke a cigarette on the program today. You know I do it, right?
Yeah.
Even indoors for the visual. So if anybody is in South Florida and somehow has my number and wants to text me right now when we're live, if you bring me a Marlboro Medium, a Marlboro Light, a Parliament Light, I'd even bang a Camel Light right now. I haven't smoked a cigarette in 20 years, but Carlos Prates is in the main event. Anyway, we were talking about Disney World. Is that what we were talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. Space
So,
Mountain.
yeah, so Space Mountain got shut down while we were in line on it for the second time.
Oh.
And then there was a water ride at Universal Studios that got shut down when we were in line. And then there was another ride I was on that stopped while we were on it. So it would seem that there is a lot of malfunction when it comes to these things. So a roller coaster enthusiast, I would never call myself, but I am growing with bravery, if for no other reason than when your daughters are like, Daddy, we're going on the roller coasters. It's like, all right, I guess we're all going.
You got this. You got this.
All right. Headlines is brought to you by Cuervo. Now's a good time to enjoy the tequila that invented tequila. And if you do have young children, Islands of Adventure, some really good starter roller coasters that'll even strike a little fear in a 46-year-old guy. All right. Rumblings of an injury to Dricus Du Plessis, right? The off-rumored International Fight Week headliner for the middleweight championship. No confirmation from the promotion, but we all thought it was going to be Dricus Du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev, that the stars were going to align. There are reports, myriad reports, suggesting that Dricus Du Plessis might be out and there would be an interim middleweight championship fight, or at the very least a main event, but I would think it would be an interim title fight between Khamzat Chimaev and Caio Borralho. What are your thoughts on that, Ken Flo?
Oh my gosh, there's so much to unpack. Well, first of all, I know that Dricus had an injury, maybe even a broken foot or something that he was recovering from when he fought Strickland the first time around. And, I don't think he wanted to do something like that again, fight injured. So I imagine if there is an injury there and you're fighting someone like Khamzat Chimaev, you do not want to go in there anything less than maybe 90%, right? Because of the challenge ahead of you. But my goodness, this is the benefit of having the type of elite roster that the UFC has, is that you can put on another amazing fight like Caio Borralho against Khamzat Chimaev. Both guys are firing on full cylinders right now. Both have matured a lot since their debuts. They showed a lot of promise early on, perhaps Chimaev even more so, of course. But I think Caio Borralho is going to be a significant challenge just based on the fact that he is so damn good, not only on the feet, but on the ground as well, and maybe has the cure to that takedown ability of Khamzat Chimaev. But what a fight. If that's the way it's going to go down, that's a tremendous pivot.
Yeah, that's a crazy fight in and of itself, and I guess I might have some thoughts on that on the back end. But let me just say this, and I would imagine most of our listenership understands this acutely. Dricus Du Plessis trains as hard and as smartly, I would say, as probably any fighter in the game, Ken Flo.
Yep.
And he risked a championship opportunity because he was on one leg back in the day after the Robert Whittaker fight, and there was no way he could make the quick turn to fight Israel Adesanya. That's why I said I would get the South African flag tattooed on my neck if in a span of 9 weeks, Dricus Du Plessis beat Robert Whittaker and then Israel Adesanya. Now, he did end up beating both guys and becoming the world champion, but health is wealth, and injuries are very much a part of mixed martial arts, more so than I would say almost any other sport, serious injuries. Du Plessis has been an absolute warrior. Twice he's already defended the title. And, if anyone wants to get sort of into a tit for tat with him in terms of fight cancellations, it wouldn't be Khamzat Chimaev, a fighter that I've supported probably more than anyone on the roster. So what are your thoughts on Du Plessis in all of this, and whether or not maybe you would do an interim given what Du Plessis has accomplished and how recently he did defend the belt?
Well, I think that's kind of a nice happy medium there. If Dricus isn't going to be able to commit to the fight, which I don't think he should, I think as a fighter, as a businessman, you have to be able to do what's best for your career. And what's best for his career, if he's not 100%, it's definitely to not fight someone like Khamzat Chimaev. You have to give your body the ability to recover, repair whatever injuries there, and then get back to it. The fact that he's champion is kind of a good role for him to be right now. But that said, I think it might warrant something like an interim belt, especially given the fact that maybe they don't know when Dricus Du Plessis is going to be good to come back. So I think Dricus is making the right decision if that's the way it's going to head. I would love to see that fight. I've been looking forward to that fight for a long time. But still, the Borralho Chimaev fight is great, and I don't have a problem with that being an interim belt.
We don't know the nature of the injury. I probably could have messaged Dricus Du Plessis and asked how he was doing. I don't know that he would have been responsive to me, but we don't even know if the guy is injured, right? But if he is injured and they pivot to Khamzat Chimaev versus Kyle Borralho. I have long been a guy who has said, what's the issue with an interim championship, right? Here's the issue. If Shavkat Rakhmonov was the interim welterweight champion right now, it'd be a little bit of an issue, I guess, right? If Belal defends against Jack Della Maddalena and not Shavkat Rakhmonov, maybe not. Maybe it's not an issue because I think Shavkat's going to be next regardless, despite the case that some of these other welterweights have made, But there aren't that many issues with interim championships. That's why I have oftentimes championed the cause of one, even if Dricus Du Plessis just defended his title in, February?
Right.
But I still think, right, International Fight Week, and what these two fighters have done, Khamzat Chimaev and Kyle Borralho, I think you would all agree with me, deserve to fight for a piece of gold, even if it's not the ultimate prize, and maybe it should be silver in color.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at what they've done. And not only have they won consistently, but they've done it impressively in dominant fashion. And that's one. As I think about it right now, I'm not sure who would win that fight. I think Caio is a very interesting challenge to someone like Chimaev, again, based on his ground skills.
Big stretch for the welterweight division coming up. Big things for the middleweight division. We'll see how it all plays out. Ian Machado Garry, Carlos Prates this weekend. No text messages as yet on the cigarette front. So Carlos Prates says Islam Makhachev is a much harder matchup for him, or a harder matchup, I guess I should say, than Belal Muhammad. What do you make of all that, right? Is that just sort of a styles make fights things? I mean, it seems as though whether it's Jack Della Maddalena suggesting that Belal Muhammad has a boring style or Carlos Prates suggesting that Islam's a tougher guy for him to beat, they always back it up with a compliment to the UFC welterweight champion. But what do you make of Prates' comments here in the wake of his first UFC main event coming up this weekend?
Well, you got to wonder if he's more concerned with the submission game or the submission prowess of someone like Islam Makhachev. Belal Muhammad will ground you to the mat, but might not be the biggest threat when it comes to finishing you on the ground with a submission, as we've seen so far. Islam Makhachev, though, on the other hand, can't finish you in a variety of ways, whether he's taking your back or, some kind of front choke. Yeah, I think that's probably where he's coming from, which is an interesting comment because I think maybe he's showing a little bit of vulnerability there, but he is being obviously very honest in his assessment of that fight. Yeah. And with Belal, it's like you take him down, but you do get more opportunities to get back on your feet, maybe throughout that fight. So maybe that's where he's coming from.
Jack Della Maddalena is such a respectful, good, sort of even-keeled dude and matter-of-fact guy that, he's comparing Belal Muhammad to George St. Pierre. And the headline is, Jack Della Maddalena says Belal Muhammad has a boring fighting style. It is interesting, right? But it had me down this train of what are some false MMA narratives out there? Or a tired, if not outright false MMA narrative. And for me, sometimes it has to do with a fighter getting painted with the brush of being boring, right? Like, we're going to probably watch back Belal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards for Anik Florian Rewind and UFC Fight Pass, Kenny, and nothing really about those 25 minutes was boring, right? But I think once Belal or Merab Dvalishvili gets painted with that brush because maybe they favor position over submission, or in the case of Merab, multiple takedowns as opposed to keeping you there. Once you get painted with that brush, sometimes it's hard to shake.
Yeah, I think it's one thing to maybe not get finishes, but it's quite another thing to say that someone is boring. I don't think Belal was boring at all. I remember watching his fight against Leon Edwards in Nashville. I was at a bar, and the whole bar was just going nuts for that fight. So, yeah, I don't really understand it. And even go to the Sean Brady fight. There's a ton of examples of it. Belal has shown his toughness time and time again. I think a lot of it is people make up their minds that they don't like someone, and then they find a narrative to kind of support that.
Seriously, what is the problem with Muhammad v. Edwards 2? Do you not like when fighter A or fighter B gets sort of slammed on their head, right? Does Belal get not a modicum of credit for the striking in round one and the other rounds? I don't know. Yeah. All right, let's get to the star of the program. Great to be talking mixed martial arts today with the legend, the future Hall of Famer, Raymond Peter Longo.
It's now time for the Ray Longo Minute.
I want you to punch a hole in his fucking chest. That's what I want.
The Ray Longo Minute. Starring Ray Longo. The John Anik and Kenny Florian Podcast.
Look at him. Look at the motherfucker. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, Jesus Christmas. Where the hell's my hair?
Good
All right,
afternoon,
guys.
Ray. Good afternoon.
How we doing today, guys?
Good afternoon.
First
brother.
off, I agree 100% with Kenny. People get something in their mind and they find a narrative. That's what happens. Confirmation bias. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Yep.
What are you going to do?
So it's nice to see you. To what extent did us going on a Tuesday and an hour later mess with your life?
Yeah, what are you going to do?
You can always say no, right? As the
Yeah.
star of the show.
I
Right?
was
It's
actually sitting at the computer at 11:30. Then I realized Cody told me it was 12:30, so I had to fucking,
well, that's on you. I mean,
Oh, that's on me.
yeah, 1,000,000,000% that's on you. I'm here to help.
1 million.
I
1
tell you,
million
you're the
percent.
star of the show. I tell you, you're the star of the show, and that out of respect, if not seniority, that I will build the whole schedule around you. I asked
John.
our producer to see if you're available Tuesday at 12:30, and you say yes.
I love it. John, I'd walk through hot coals for you. What are you talking about?
I'm just saying, we can always, if 2 o'clock's better for you, I'm here for you. I'm not just saying that for content
I'm
at all.
joking.
Okay. I'm
All
not,
right.
though. In all seriousness,
No, I'm joking.
it's not like, hey, John needs you to go on this day. There's no ultimatums here. It's great to
Of
see you, though.
course.
How was your weekend, Ray? How was your weekend?
Oh, it's very, very good, John. How
Yeah?
about yours?
You guys win any MMA fights? You lose some or what?
No fights this weekend, but the next couple of weeks we got about 15 guys fighting. So
You going
very
to
exciting.
Azerbaijan or what?
Azerbaijan.
Are you
Yeah,
going to
we're going.
Azerbaijan?
Of course.
You hear that, Ken Flo?
I think that's a good
phone is
matchup
that?
for Nas.
Whose phone is that? Is that your phone, Ray? It's episode
No.
547. Can you
No.
can you put that on silent? Hey, Azerbaijan, you going?
Yeah, you going?
No, I don't believe so. I mean,
Why
I go
not?
where they tell me. I'm
No.
looking at my dates right now. I got May 11th. Looks like June 7th on the schedule.
Oh, June
Hey,
7th's
so-
a biggie.
Nazim Sadikov, Azerbaijan. Is that what's going on or no?
That's what's going on. It just got the news yesterday. He's fighting Nicholas Mata, and I think it's a great
Nice.
fight.
You going business class? You going Xanax? What are we doing?
Oh, I'm sure. I don't know. I didn't think about it yet, but I'm sure
All right.
sure I'm going as comfortable as I could possibly go.
Well, again, Anik Florian here to help. I know
I
you're going
know.
to laugh at my face, but I'm just saying, like, we're here. All right. So I don't even know where to begin. Have you seen the rumors that Dricus Du Plessis might be injured and they might go Khamzat Chimaev, Kyle Borralho for an interim middleweight championship international fight week?
I have seen the rumors. Why? That's not confirmed.
Not to my knowledge.
I mean,
Not
it's
to my
pretty.
knowledge.
It's pretty far out to, if he's got an injury, it's got to be a substantial injury, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think he's also the type of champion, that would be realistic. It is not as, it's 8.5, 9 weeks, right? I mean,
I guess
it's hard to
time
begin
flies,
training
man.
camp injured, right? I know Michael Chandler can acknowledge that, having recently done it.
Wow.
But yeah, it's really interesting though, because handicapping Kyle Borralho right now against anyone is interesting. I think a lot of people believe that Kyle Borralho would be favored to beat most of these guys. I don't think Borralho would be favored to beat Dricus Du Plessis right now because of what Dricus has done as champion. I don't know if there's a line out there on Chimaev and Borralho, but Ray, it's a fascinating matchup if it does happen. What are your thoughts on Borralho as he compares to, DDP, Chimaev, and everybody else?
He's got those guys have momentum on their side, and so far no glitches. That's a crew from hell, man. I really admire what those guys have done. All four of them, I think, was what we're probably talking about. But Borralho's no joke. I think he's proven it. So it's that's an interesting matchup too. I mean, I'd rather see Dricus and Khamzat, but Borralho definitely deserves a shot if Dricus is injured.
So let's talk about the other guy from that team. Obviously, Carlos Prates is taking on Ian Machado Garry. Break down that fight for us, man.
Oof. I think Gary's a tough out. I don't know. That's going to be a very interesting fight. Who's favored in that fight? I would imagine Garry.
Gary by a little
Albeit
bit.
slightly, yeah. I mean, money
Yeah.
continues to come in on DraftKings Sportsbook on Carlos Prates. Ray, I'm trying to get a cigarette to smoke during the show today. Nobody's delivering.
Really? What the
I almost
hell's the
bought
matter
it back
with
the other
Lung
day.
tap.
you? Are you that stressed out? You turn into nicotine?
Yeah, nicotine is a perpetually misunderstood drug. I'm just looking at these betting lines right now, Ken Flo.
You guys better hope so.
Minus 125. So yeah, money sort of trickling in on Carlos Prates, or so it would appear.
Yeah. Man, that's tough. I think the movement of Gary, plus he's been working his ground game. I don't know. I'd actually favor Gary in that fight. It seems like he knows how to maneuver around things and get the job done. So, who's like just give me Pratis's last 3 opponents? Can you?
Dude, he has fought no cans. He has fought all good guys.
It's been Magny, Li Jingliang, Ratke,
and Trevin Giles. Like, what are you looking for? You know, give me a Parliament Light. What are you looking for? Like, what are you?
I'm not looking for anything.
Are you sold on Prates?
I like him.
Okay.
No, I like him, Kenny.
Okay.
I just think the other guy's got more experience, and
Right.
but I don't know. That's a really tough fight for me. I think that's a really tough fight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could.
And he's lost Ray for a second. It really is an impossible exercise, and I don't want to steer the conversation if Ray's going to be back here in a second. But I think if you forced a lot of people to rank the fighting nerds, right, those 4 guys. Hey, Ray.
Sorry about that. It's got to happen once a show, but no, I think that's a great matchup, and I don't know. To me, it's a pick 'em, but I would give a slight edge to Gary. I think for the people he's fought, and you know, I don't know. I mean,
so
yeah, go ahead.
These fighting nerds, right? And we've spent a lot of time on it, right? Pablo Sucupira, the head coach, and everything they're doing analytically and in Octagon 19-0, whatever it is, right? I think the impossible question right now in MMA is if you're trying to decide or decipher of these 4 guys, who has the highest ceiling or who is going to win a UFC championship, or heaven forbid, I actually asked you guys to rank these guys 1 through 4. It's really difficult, right? To say, oh, Carlos Prates, I think has the 4th highest ceiling of these guys. I mean, Kyle Borralho might be fighting for the world championship in 9 weeks. So I think he would probably occupy the number 1 slot, but Mauricio Rufy, my God, Sean Silva could fight for the belt.
Right. See, here's the difference. I think I go Rufy and Silva because they're really unorthodox. They could do crazy shit, and they got bricks in their hands. They got knockout power, which I'm not seeing. The other guys are more steady Eddie. Even though Prates will get you out, he's got great knees. He's more traditional. These guys are really unorthodox. Shit is coming from all over the place. Yep. Very hard to deal with. Mindset looks like it's in the right spot. They're having a fucking blast in there against quality guys. I don't know. Those 2 guys are at the top for me.
They remind me of like a shoot to box 2.0, like back when Pride was in its heyday, when Shogun and Ninja and Vanderlei Silva were in their prime. They were doing a lot of that kind of crazy shit where they were very creative with their striking. They were knocking guys out left and right. I feel like this is kind of a 2.0 of those guys.
I agree with you, but and 2.0 because the spin kicks, the weird angles the kicks are coming from, like, again, that starching power. Like when Silva knocked out that Armenian kid, I mean, he just flattened him. Like that guy.
That was a world-class striker.
100%. A lot of kickboxing experience. He got hit, and the ref didn't stop that fight. And that guy was like, the guy, whatever his name is, Meltzik, like, are you fucking kidding me? Get this guy off me. And then he had to take an extra 10 shots because that guy couldn't figure out how he got flattened like that, the ref. So,
yeah,
man, that's what I'm saying. They have the X factor, those 2 guys. The other guys are really good, but I think they're more, to me, like basic good. These guys are unorthodox good, and I think you got to be very, very careful in the way you approach them. I mean,
that's a great answer, and I like that you didn't fence it because it's a really hard question. I almost don't want to put Ken Flo on the spot when it comes to that, but I know a lot of people believe in all 4 of them to varying degrees. It is interesting, though. I don't know the extent to which any of those 4 are box office in the United States, but they all in their own right have star power. A couple of them are fluent in English and speak it really well and understand it really well. And I do think in terms of star power, it's so interesting when people worry about the UFC in terms of who's walking through that door as the next big superstar, because this happens time and time again. Israel Adesanya was not in the UFC in 2017. Alex Pereira was not in the UFC in 2021. You know what I mean? And now we have the fucking fighting nerds and millions of kids out there trying to become the next George St. Pierre and the next John Jones and everybody else. So the cupboard's never going to be bare. I always think it's an interesting narrative. I don't know about box office, but we could build stars.
No, I agree with you. And Kenny, I also agree. It's like shoot box feel. It's like these guys, they're not even coming to win. They're coming to do damage. Whatever happens in between the damage and the end of and it's working out. But they're not. They don't look like they're. There are coaches that try to squeeze out every round. You know what I mean? And I actually believe. Like O'Malley's going to try to do that with Merab. I don't think he thinks he can knock him out at this point. I think he's going to try to find a way to just eke out a round, and even if it's the shittiest fight ever, you know what I mean? But these guys are coming to do damage, man. It's a big difference, and they're just having too much fun in there. I don't know. I'm super, super impressed with that whole team, but those two guys in particular, because of what I said. That's a problem. I'm not saying we don't know if they're going to get exposed on the floor. Who knows yet? But standing up wise, I don't think anybody's touching them right now.
Very interesting stuff. And Kenny, I think that's a great analogy, the shoot to box one, when it comes to the fighting nerds. I'm not sure I had heard that from anybody. So
because you get that feeling of violence, right, Kenny? That's the thing, like even though there's no soccer kicks to the head on the floor, there's still that violence these guys are bringing. A smile on their face. I don't know. I'm very, I don't know. Super impressed with those guys.
Ray Longo Minute live here on the Anik Florian Podcast. Thanks to everybody joining us on the DraftKings YouTube channel and wherever you ingest your podcast on the audio side. So, Ray, you mentioned Merab Dvalishvili, and I want to get to Sean O'Malley. But before I do, we were sort of talking about false MMA narratives out there, right? That Merab Dvalishvili is a boring fighter, right? It's like, what are people watching exactly, right? So I don't know if you can think of any sort of tired MMA narratives, but there's so many things that we sort of push up against in sports like that because it's just tired, right? But once sort of people start to paint you with a certain brush, it's hard to get out the other side from it.
Look, man, I think his Instagram isn't boring. I think that's hysterical and exciting. And I think his fighting, hitting those antics in where he'll take you down, mock you, look around, do the, whatever he's doing. I don't know. Picking Henry Cejudo up, walking him over to Zuckerberg, that's boring. Is that boring?
I'm with you.
Come on, man. It goes back to what Kenny said. They have the narrative, and that's what they're going to go with. They'll try to build anything around. So if he's not knocking somebody out, nothing's good. You know what I mean? It's almost he probably can't do anything at this point to change those people's mind. But I want to bring up one thing. I got a kid, one of Merab's friends that came back from Vegas told me they're testing him. The last month they tested him every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks they test him. I guess they can't figure out that his work ethic surpasses what drugs could do for you. Every 2 weeks. That's what he said. Wow. He said for the last month. And my point is, if I'm Merab, I didn't talk to him about this. That's got to be on the table. You test me 10 times, my opponent has to be.
Yeah, and when this is fucking bullshit. Setting 1,000%.
And let me just say this: it's allegedly. I heard it through somebody else. I didn't talk to Merab, but he told me. First off, he told me the guy is working out, and this guy who's telling me is a fucking lunatic. Tornicki's really. Dude, his grappling is crazy. He's really just a great kid, but he says he works out like he's an animal. I mean, his work ethic is second to none. It always was, and it always will be until he can't do it anymore. But if that's true that they tested that guy every 2 weeks for 3 or 4 times, I'm calling bullshit, man. They better be testing everybody. I don't give a fuck where you live, where you're hiding. You're getting tested or you don't show up at the fight. Everything's the playing field has to be equal. Yeah, no, I don't know, man. It just blew my mind when that kid told me that. So
Merab Dvalishvili testing positive for hard work and dedication, Ray.
Yeah, there you go. Give him a red flag for that.
So Sean O'Malley was regretful in terms of the Noche fight that he overpromised and underdelivered in that first fight against Merab. Now, I sort of asked him, I didn't push him necessarily because in my one-on-one with him recently, in my role as the play-by-play announcer, I'm not investigative journalist trying to like pry, you said this, but if your labrum is torn in your hip, right? I know they called you 10 weeks out or whatever it was. They called you to headline Sphere and you wanted to do that for the promotion or otherwise, but you can't overpromise if you have a torn labrum, maybe that prevents you from grappling or wrestling at all. So do you expect Sean, based upon what he has said, to be significantly improved in that regard, or is it just levels to that part of the game and you can't close that gap without, years and years of maintenance?
I mean, look, I don't know the extent of the injury, but I know guys with a torn labrum in the gym, definitely not an easy injury to come back from in a short period of time. I don't believe, but it could be. I would think each situation is individual, and some guys heal better than other guys. But I don't expect a big difference. I expect a big difference in the way he approaches the fight. But I don't expect a big difference in what he could do. Because if it was that bad, you can't train, you can't take the fight. But I mean, look, the fight was relatively. How long ago was the fight? I mean, to have an injury, going for an operation,
Right.
and come out. I mean, God
Well,
bless
he
him if he
said
could do it. Yeah, if
he
he
had the
could do it, God
surgery
bless him.
scheduled. Excuse me, Ray. I don't mean to
Yeah.
interrupt, but he said he had the surgery scheduled before the fight with Marab,
Yeah, but these guys, like a lot of times, Kenny, they have injuries. They can get through them. You know what I mean? Look, I can't grip as good, so this might not be good, but they can get through the fight, and they schedule. I bet you a couple of guys. I bet you Marab, like he fought with a bad hand for how many fights? So he probably scheduled that surgery, before his whatever fight he had the operation on it. I don't think that's a big deal. I think, you want to take care of your body and get everything done. It's
Yeah.
not stopping you completely from doing what you do. And we'll see. We'll see if it makes a difference. But he's got a buzzsaw in front of him, and that's what he's got to deal with. So we'll see.
Yeah, when you're fighting someone like Marab, you want to make sure you're as close to 100% as possible. And I think for Sean O'Malley, I think there's something to be said for, promoting something that maybe that you're not. If you are a little injured, you might want to be a little bit more quiet next time. But I think more than anything else, sometimes those injuries can be more of an impediment mentally than it is physically, where you know that you can't do certain things, or you're going to be hesitant, and you have a monster who is not going to tire, who's going to repeatedly go for the takedown, and that affects your performance mentally because certain things that you're limited in certain things. So it's a tough place to be, but perhaps this is just going to make Sean O'Malley that much more confident when he is eventually healthy, perhaps. So, but I'm looking forward to the rematch, man, and I loved the first fight, and can't wait for the second one.
Yeah.
Ray, I have a few more things I would like to get to with you. So this sort of ties into the whole fight as entertainment, because ultimately winning has to be prioritized. And Paddy Pimblett said as much, even though he entertained the masses in a great way against Michael Chandler, but you have to win first. And it brings me to Movsar Evloev, who is fucking 9-0 in the UFC and likely next for Alexander Volkanovski. Maybe I shouldn't say likely. This is what he said on the Overdogs podcast. I can promise them that I'm not going to take down anyone if they give me a title shot. I'm not going to go there first. If they try to take me down, okay, I'll accept this, but I'm not going to go first. I'll just go straight striking. So let's see. I will just push him to the wall, so don't let him run for me. Don't let him move. Then he has to start exchanging with me. He will tire, or I'll break him because I know that I have bigger power, better wrestling, and I can control this guy 5 rounds or finish on the ground. So I do take Movsar Evloev at his word, and I want to get both of your thoughts on this, but it's like, why does this even have to be a thing, right? It's like, I understand we can't live in a straight meritocracy in terms of matchmaking, but like Movsar should get the championship opportunity at this point and not have to be in some sort of handshake agreement that he won't be first to try to take you down.
Well, look, he's trying to say what he thinks everybody wants to hear. Unfortunately, I don't think anybody believes what he said. That guy gets hit once. What do you think he's going to do? Keep standing up? He's going to shoot for his life. I mean, that's just what they do.
I think you're underselling him on the feet.
All right. Well,
You're like, all right, I'm the striking coach of the Hall of
yeah,
Famer. You're
based
some
on what?
talking
Yeah,
head.
based on what?
He's had a lot of striking moments against a lot of elite fighters in the UFC.
I mean,
He's
I don't think I think Aljo. I don't think he landed a punch on him. I mean, he came out of that fight unscathed. I don't know.
I would take him at his word. I mean, I don't know if it was a pinky promise, but he says he promises he's not going to go first for the takedown. He believes in his physicality. Kenny, can you get in here, please?
Yeah. So I think a couple things are happening. I think he may try to do that against Volkanovski. I think he thinks that he's going to have the better conditioning, and not a whole lot of people have tried to repeatedly take down someone like Volkanovski, or at least pin him up against the cage in the 145-pound division. Of course, we saw that with Islam, and just kind of like beat him up in the clinch. Try to do that. I think maybe he saw that Islam had some success there, and maybe he wants to do the same. But John, I also think that he's contending with other beasts out there in that division, like Jean Silva and Yair Rodriguez, and he has to do something to kind of put himself or ensure that he's going to be at the front of that line when they come calling. So, at the end of the day, it is business, and it might be worth it for him just to get that title shot and be willing to do that. So who knows?
Ray.
We'll see. But those guys you mentioned, Silver and Rory, they're so dynamic. I mean, he's nowhere near those guys.
That's why I think he's got to.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think
without
they're
a
gonna
doubt.
do? Real quickly, what do you guys think they're going to do next with Volkanovski? Jean Silva, Yair Rodriguez, or Movsar? In a word. Because I do think at this point, not unlike Merab and Bilal, Movsar has become so undeniable that I think promotionally they feel like they have to do it.
Yeah, I think I'd go with that fight.
Okay. All right.
I think it's Movsar as well. Yeah.
Right.
And he deserves it, John. I'm with you. He 100% deserves it. But the UFC, I think, has been pretty vocal in what they want to see in fights. I don't think it's a mystery at this point.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right, Ray. Would you rather talk about the GFL?
Let's talk about what are we talking about?
Well, I don't know.
Is this happening, Ray? What the hell's going on?
I don't know. I have no idea.
They were just teasing you guys.
Yeah, what is you know what? I think for right now, Darren seems like a nice enough guy that I'll refrain from many thoughts that I might have. But I did talk to him, and he still wants to push forward.
Okay.
But
am I allowed?
I'll say this: I think his heart's in the right spot. Go ahead,
So,
John.
am I allowed? And you can say no comment. I mean, have you been paid, Ray?
No, I haven't been paid.
Not a cent.
Not a cent.
All right. So that
not a
bothers
cent.
me because I have heard on good authority that some people have taken. Well, no, I mean, have you not? I mean, I just feel like you've been part of conversations, and you're anyway.
No. But John, those guys were paid. There have been guys paid. They're paid to promote it. I was never promoting it.
So how much? So have you spent less than 10 hours conversing about the GFL?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And you
I
haven't.
I have. And I'll tell you, John, if it was different, I would have asked to have been paid. But
all right.
I'm going to say less than 2 hours.
All right. What is it like when Ray Longo is sweating online at Disney World?
Oh my God! You're bringing back good memories, though. I love my kids love Disney World. We were there a lot. Half the times I was there with a torn meniscus, they were dragging me around. I mean, I don't know. My life's been like one big continuous injury, I think. So I was there a couple of times where I was like, this is horrible. But the kids loved it. It was great to see. I at the time I was there, you got to remember, so we're going back, 20 years, 20. That place was run on the dime. I always loved the way they did business. I don't know.
It did have Epcot Center when you were there.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay,
I loved it. I loved Epcot Center.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Boston. We call it Epcot Center.
Epcot.
So
yeah. But yeah, no. How was it? You went?
I was there no more than an hour ago. Yeah, no, I was there this weekend. Magic Kingdom and then Islands of Adventure at Universal, and productive trip, all things considered.
But I mean, the kids, you love the fact that the kids are just having a blast, right?
It was great. It was great. Yeah, I mean, we did have one moment. We went on Space Mountain a second time, and it's a roller coaster. It's dark, whatever. And right as we were getting towards the front of the line, the ride shut down, and it ended up being with finality for that day. So some of the other kids in front of us or right near us who had not been on it yet were, brought to tears, and that was upsetting to see. But other than that, it was great. Food much better at Universal than Walt Disney World, if you care. So, all right. We got 3 more minutes with Ray Longo, and I'm going to use those. We're going to use those.
Rick, I cannot believe you like this.
Ray, would you rather have a pause or a rewind button in your life?
Pause or wow. What a cerebral question, John.
So Cody can chase the poll results. We threw this out to the masses.
I'll go rewind, but whatever. Yeah.
Ken Flo?
I like the rewind one as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you rewind. I don't know if you do with all the wisdom that you've accrued up until that point, but yes, I would go back to 5th grade, like right now. Ray, would you rather find a rat in your kitchen or a roach in your bed?
Oh man, I'm not good. Man, a roach in my bed or a rat in the kitchen?
Yes.
Oh, man, I've had a lot of experiences with both. Man. Both of those creep the fuck out of me.
Yeah, there's so many rats in your state of New York. Kenny, rat in your kitchen, roach in your bed as Ray Fentz sits.
Roaches, I don't have a major problem with. I don't love them, obviously, but rats, dude, I can't do rats, man. There's something about the tails and the face that they gross me out.
I'd rather have 5 roaches in my bed than a singular fucking rat.
I got to tell you, so my first gym, they knocked down, I think, like a Stop and Shop, and the rat infested. These the Kenny, they were the size of cats in my first gym. I mean, they were. I mean, one of those things stood up on its hind legs and hissed at me one time, dude. I went running out the door. I didn't even lock the gym up. I'm getting a. Yeah. And then I had a couple of Mexican guys working for me. They used to light them on fire, shoot them. I mean, they were huge. Body shops on the block, they were chewing through the the hoses. Like, damn. They were going through the concrete. I mean, it was a bad problem.
Oh, man.
They're one of the worst invasive species.
No, really. And these things were huge. So the tails were probably a foot long. And but the roaches, I'm not big on them either. The roaches, we have a couple of roaches every so often in the gym. They're huge too. I don't know, huge. Yeah. I think we hope we're talking about the same roaches, but
all right, rapid fire. That's enough on the rat front. My visual was though Kenny with a pistol shooting a rat. All right.
Wait, Kenny, funny, you'll appreciate this. I had a bag, with my stuff in. I had a bag. Remember the old Metrex powder? Do you remember that? Metrex?
Yeah.
They fucking got in my bag. They ate the Metrex. They ate the.
So they're getting jacked off the Metrex.
100%. 100%. Shoot, they ate the Metrex. I gotta get out of here. Thank God I left that gym.
Ray, how far do you live from the gym?
10 miles maybe.
Would you rather walk to work in heels or drive to work in reverse?
I'll drive to work in reverse.
Would you rather? I can see that actually visually, right? Longo going old school with the right arm over the passenger seat, looking behind him. Ray, would you rather have super sensitive taste buds or super sensitive hearing?
I guess super sensitive hearing.
Okay. Would you rather have fortune or fame?
Fortune.
Interesting. You have fame. I don't know your bankroll, but you have fame.
Yeah, fame ain't all what it's cracked up to be, John.
Yeah.
I'll take the fortune.
Kenny, would you rather drink sour milk or brush your teeth with soap?
Oh, brush my teeth with soap.
All day. I don't even mind. My dad used to put a bar of Safeguard in my mouth because I said, fuck. I'd be like, go ahead.
You like the soap?
Oh, sour milk.
Not inordinately, but. Ray, would you rather drink sour milk or brush your teeth with soap?
Well, I guess after you two guys, I got to brush my teeth with soap. Sour milk is brutal, man.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It stays with you. Like you can't get it out of yeah.
And before we let you go, would you rather everyone you love forget the fuck out your birthday, or everyone you love sing happy birthday to you for hours?
I'd rather have them forget my birthday for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not a big birthday guy.
Right. So we got a bunch of big birthdays coming up. I think Cody is May 15th. Longo, are you like May 21st or something?
Yeah, May 20th.
Oh, May 20th. I was off by a day. I think Buffer's the 21st. My apologies.
No way. I didn't know
and
that.
I think Ken Flo is May. I know. I'm the president of Team Florian, for God's sakes, but Kenny is May 26, 1976.
Wow. Graduated high school in 76.
How about that? Ken Flo, you born Westwood, Massachusetts, or what?
Yes, sir.
See,
Yes,
do you know how many times I've been on Kenny Florian's Wikipedia page of my life? Ray, thanks for the time. Anything else before we let you fly, my man?
No, just an absolute pleasure chopping it up with you guys as usual.
All right. Well, thank you, man. We appreciate you. We love you. Have a great day and a better evening, and we'll talk to you on Monday.
All right, take it easy, guys. I'll talk to you.
Take care. Every week here on the Anik Florian Podcast. All right. Can you imagine, Ray? I mean, I don't know. I just wish I could have $50 million so I could offer someone like Ray $15,000 to go to Disney World with a camera on him on the hottest day of the year. And I just want to film him online for 90 minutes.
Just sweating his ass off. Look, what's this fly doing? This is crazy. What are we doing here?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. New hip would help, though. New hip. He's got the new hip. All right, pronunciation of the week is brought to you by Total Wireless, the official wireless provider of UFC. Get unlimited data that won't slow you down. All right, so we're going to highlight the headliners this week because I think it actually might be the easiest pronunciation card in UFC history coming up in Kansas City, Missouri, T-Mobile Center, UFC Fight Night, Machado Garry versus Prates. Looks like ESPN Plus wall-to-wall, if I'm not mistaken. So, Kenny, Ian Garry is easy to pronounce. He has injected a Brazilian name into the equation here to, I believe, honor a stepson of his, if I'm not mistaken. So how do you pronounce this in totality?
So I used to be sponsored by a gi company back in the day, Machado Kimonos back in the day. Machado.
All right, let's hear Ian.
The future, Ian Machado Garry.
One more time.
The future, Ian Machado Garry.
Nailed it, right? You can argue I've actually been emphasizing the wrong syllable, but bro, correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't he go like English and then Brazilian Portuguese and then back to English? So certainly as an announcer, I'm not gonna go back and forth, right? So I don't know if he's recording that for us or not, but I'm not gonna be putting that Brazilian flair on the middle name there. So
absolutely, and it depends who asked him. Like if it was a Brazilian person who asked him, he might make it a little bit more, Portuguese sounding. If it was an English person, he may sound, So, anyways,
yeah.
Interesting.
All right, and let's now hear from the fighting nerd, the Nightmare Carlos, who doesn't necessarily have as much base for a guy who throws back 10 lung darts a day. Let's hear from the welterweight contender.
Carlos Prates. Carlos Prates.
That would have been too easy for Ken Flo. Carlos Prates and Ian Machado Garry. We will highlight that fight coming up in the main event challenge here in 60 seconds. But also of note right now on your sports calendar, NBA playoffs off to an outstanding start. How about Detroit basketball last night? All the high-stakes drama, clutch moments, jaw-dropping plays continue on a nightly basis. And if you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Try placing a bet on your favorite player's performance. Maybe they drop 30 points, 40 points, perhaps more. Your call. You can also just go straight wager on the game itself. I like picking a side. And as always, we have something special for DK rookies. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code AFPOD. That's code AFPOD for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. All right, UFC Fight Night, Machado Garry versus Prates. We go three wide and welcome in Big Gun Brian Petrie. Let's
boys,
go.
What's up?
Pete.
What's up,
How
boys? What's up? I'm good. How you guys doing?
Your voice sounds good today. You got that bass.
Yeah, bud.
All about that bass. All right. How we doing, man? I feel like we haven't seen you in a while. I mean, I'm not a big pleasantry guy necessarily, but how's life?
Life's good. Last week we were off. Local fights this Saturday. A guy I sponsor, Hunter Frazier. Shout out. Got that first round TKO or KO, more of a TKO. So that was pretty dope. That was cool to support local MMA. That was that's big for me. And yeah, other than that, dude, we're rocking it. We're killing it. Making some chili right now. You know what I mean?
Good, man. All right, we'll let you get back to it in about 30 minutes, but
yeah,
I'm sure parenthood continues strong, and so does the MMA handicapping right now. We are going to dive into what is a 6-fight main card, a lot of ranked fighters set to be showcased this weekend inside T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Missouri. We start a middleweight. Perhaps the third time, Bri, will be the charm for what is a third booking between Ikram Aliskerov, -500, and Andre Muniz, +380. So Aliskerov was -650 on Monday night when I sent out the odds. So some pretty significant movement back to the mean, I guess. First booking was June 2024. I'll just set it up quickly if I could because it's super relevant. Muniz pulled out of that one with a fractured foot, replaced by Antonio Trocoli. Then Aliskerov gets pulled from that fight to replace Khamzat Chimaev against Robert Whittaker. That was a main event in Saudi Arabia. Aliskerov knocked out in 109 seconds. A lot of less than ideal circumstances there, Bri. And now back on the proving ground. They were rebooked in February. Muniz had to pull out again due to visa issues. This Saturday night, it shall be done. Your thoughts?
Yeah, we can't get this fight together. They finally got it together, and it's a little bit of like, I hear a lot of chatter on the old interwebs, a fraud bowl, right? Is this the fraud bowl? I don't think it's that because I think Aliskerov is a legit dude. He's been knocked out twice by Robert Whittaker and Khamzat Chimaev. I mean, give the guy some slack there, right? Cut him some slack. He's also very good on the feet. He's got a nasty Kimura when he gets on top. He's your typical Dagestanian, heavy on top. He isolates that arm. That's nasty. Muniz, really good jiu-jitsu, but he's looked a little flat on the ground to me. I mean, Brandon Allen got him out of there. Paul Craig knocked him out. You know, his striking, he's a big guy for 85, but his striking isn't coming along the way it should be. It's a wide number for a reason. I like the Russian here. I think you're going to have to jump in the prop pool, maybe go some TKO, KO to get a little worth your money. I wouldn't be sleeping on Aliskerov by submission either because, like I said, when he isolates an arm, he's fucking nasty with that thing. So give me the Russian. Not going to jump on the money line, but we'll do some props.
Ken Flo, Andre Muniz was a ranked fighter for a time. Bit of a skid, but he is 6-2 in the UFC. He's coming off a win over Jin Yong Park. That was a split decision December 2023. Previously, back-to-back losses to Brendan Allen and Paul Bearju Craig. What do you have for us on the middleweights, Ken Flo?
Yeah, I think Brian's pretty spot on here. I think that Muniz is good on the ground, but when he's on top, and I don't see him getting on top of Aliskerov too much here. I don't think his takedown game is going to be enough for a guy who's a multiple-time Sambo champion. I think even a Sambo world champion, certainly was a European champion in Sambo. So, yeah, and I just see Aliskerov's striking being a little bit more effective. I know he does have some vulnerabilities there, but I'm going to lean the way of Aliskerov. I don't love the -500 line right now, but yeah, give me Aliskerov.
All right, moving on down the main card. What a fight at welterweight, Brian. Am I wrong? I mean, Randy Brown -238. If my Jamaican accent were better, I'd drop a rude boy. I can't do it. It's so bad. My rude boy is just bad, you know? Go on. All right. Randy Brown -238. Nicholas Dalby +195. Dalby is a man. He is 40. Was forced to withdraw from a fight against Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos last November due to injury. And having sat down with Jim Miller recently, you know, age is not just a number at the end of the day. Bri, what do you make of this fight? It's a fascinating fight. Dalby has really emerged late in career. Big test for him here against Randy Rude Boy Brown.
Kenny, you're the master of voices. You got a Jamaican in the back?
Yeah,
bro?
you have a
Not really.
Man,
No,
I can't.
Not ready for debut yet.
Yeah, okay. He's workshopping it, guys. He's workshopping it. Yeah. I love this fight. They're two different
He's
fighters.
not a fool like his co-host.
Right, yeah. Randy is likes to dance on the outside. He likes to keep his range. He likes to look pretty. You know what I mean? He styles on you sometimes. He does a little footwork. He points in the crowd. That's his thing. And Dalby's a man, like you said, and he marches forward and he puts a pace on you. He wants to break you. He wants to take you down 10 times so you get up 11. Like, he don't give a fuck. Like, he's gonna break you one way or another. And he's got some power as well. He's not as polished as Randy, but he's got some big power, and I think Randy sometimes loses focus in certain fights. And I just think this is going to be a dangerous one for him. I think he's going to start off well. I think it's going to be a very close fight. I like the dog and Dalby. Dalby has cashed for dog for me quite a few times. I'm going to rock with him again to go dog hunting for me. But I really like, it's not available on DraftKings yet, but I really like this. This is speaking to me, boys.
I've got to know Randy a little bit. And
you got to know Randy.
I like him. I really like him as a human being. But yeah, Dalby's hard, man. Like, he's just a hard human who's been through it personally, professionally,
Yeah, real quick though, this is the one this is speaking to me. This prop not available on DraftKings yet. Winner by split decision. Someone's gonna win. It's gonna be close. Someone's winning by split decision. That's gonna be plus money. Play that when it's available. I love it.
Yeah, that's interesting, Kenny. Dalby easily could be riding a 5-fight winning streak here. Close one with Rinat Fakhretdinov last June in Saudi Arabia. So Randy Brown, 13-3 in the UFC. So 20th UFC appearance for him. 3-fight winning streak ended by Brian Battle. That was a split last December. Ken Flo at UFC 310. But body of work-wise, pretty clean 5 years for Randy Brown, right? He did lose to Jack Della Maddalena in Perth, but he's basically beaten everybody else. He's minus 238 this weekend, Ken.
Yeah, there's times where Randy Brown, when he's on his game, man, he really looks like a world beater. There are times, though, where he may lose his focus during a fight, where he becomes susceptible to things like silly takedowns or, losing position and things like that. And he's got to be careful here with someone like Nicholas Dalby, who is an absolute dog. We have seen him time and time again deal with some extreme adversity inside the cage, also outside of the cage, and come back and look great. So now Randy Brown has a jab to not really allow Dalby in this fight. That's what he needs to do, is basically keep Dalby on the outside and not make it a fight. He's got to be the more technical guy here. He is the more technical guy there, but fighting like one is a totally different thing. So if Randy can use his long-range weapons, keep Dalby on the outside, negate a lot of those takedowns, especially up against the cage, he wins this fight. So I kind of like Randy here. BP's making me a little nervous. I could see Dalby potentially winning in an upset, but give me Randy Brown.
All right, next up on the main card of middleweight, 14th ranked Michel Pereira, minus 130. Abus Magomedov comes back plus 110. So I guess Pereira was the ultimate showman of the UFC, at least in his own eyes, until Jean Silva showed up.
Yeah.
Pereira has 31 MMA wins, Bri. He's still only 31 years of age. He had won 8 in a row before he was humbled a bit by Anthony Fluffy Hernandez in a main event last October. Magomedov looks like a real contender to me right now, Bri. I don't know, 2 straight wins, the last of which against Bruno Ferreira really turned heads. What do you have for us, BP?
I love this fight. This fight is definitely highlighted for me. This is underlined. I like Michel Pereira. I like him so much, but what the problem is the 2 losses in the UFC besides the Diego Sanchez are the same way. Like, he gassed halfway through the first round against Hernandez. I'm not sure if it was because he finally felt like a 185. He spent most of his career at 170, a 185 grinder like Hernandez. And there's no fault of losing against a guy like Anthony Hernandez. I think he's one fight, could maybe even potentially fight for a title. He's at that logjam 85. I think he's that good. But what impressed me the most in that, this guy's heart, man. This guy got the fucking shit kicked out of him. Could have tapped, could have submitted, could have gave up, never did, even when he was dead dog tired. Then you got Magomedov, who came in the UFC, looked great, had a decent PFL run, and they got thrown to the wolves. They gave him Sean Strickland right away. Wasn't ready for that yet. He came back, he fixed some cardio, got a submission in round 3 his last time out. So both these guys have a lot of talent. They're both very similar fighters. Magomedov has landed 10 takedowns in his last 2 fights. I feel like that's his path to victory. He just watched Hernandez do that Pereira. But Pereira, 76% takedown defense, has been pretty good. Not to mention he's just a freak athlete, freak power. I love him at 85. I'm hoping The last fight was just an outlier. It wasn't like a common thing. He had an off night. He maybe was injured. Who knows? We don't know. But I like Pereira. I like Michel Pereira. And I wish he would get a better nickname, too. I mean, this guy's electric. We need to find this guy a fucking electric nickname. I like him in this spot here.
Yeah. Demolador doesn't necessarily work.
It's not it.
By the way, you finally nailed the pronunciation on your 5th try. Here's something to remember.
Listen,
1 R,
there it is.
0 H's, right? So if there's 1 R in the name, there's no H sound. So
John, here's something about me you got to know is I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep saying it 100 times until I get it right, baby.
I just give you a hard time, you know. I love you. All right. So, yeah, Kenny, Abus Magomedov, right? Only 2 UFC losses, Strickland and Kyle Borralho. Physically, to Bry's point, the cardiovascular base, the physical strength, maybe even added muscle mass, bone density. He just physically looks like a different guy who has gotten the memo. And this happens to fighters sometimes when they're humbled at the highest level in the UFC. 18 months since he went the distance with Kaio. Got to think that rub helps him. What do you make of this one? He's the underdog against the ranked Pereira.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to be willing to look in the mirror when you're a mixed martial arts fighter fighting at the highest level. I think Magomedov is, I think he has maybe the potential to try to grapple Pereira here, but I don't see it going that way. I think he's going to try to stand up and strike with him. And if you decide to do that and do that early with someone like Pereira, you have to be really careful. It seems like Pereira just kind of shows all of his weapons almost in the first 30 seconds of the fight. He's like, this is everything I'm working on. Here, try to deal with this. And if you don't have an answer for it, you're going to be sleeping. And I like Pereira here. I also think that he showed me something in that loss to Fluffy Hernandez that, I was waiting for that performance where, he wouldn't give up. And yes, he lost that fight. And yes, there were some dominant moments for Fluffy Hernandez, but he showed that he wouldn't give up. He kept coming back. He did not give up on himself. And I think that was a huge moment for him as a fighter. And as a result, I think we'll see him at his best. Give me Pereira here.
All right, nicely done, boys. Let us transition now to a featured bout in the featherweight division. Kenny, you can lead off here. David Onama, -170, favored to beat the ranked Giga Chikadze, number 12 in the world, who comes back +142. Giga could be had at +160 on Monday night. That is now gone. Chikadze's fought twice in the last 40 months or so. Just one appearance in each of the last 3 years. Still ranked, though. Last win came against Alex Caceres. That was August of 2023. Onama fought a wicked game, Roberto Romero, his last time out. Got his 3rd straight win. And I think, Kenny, at this point, the Factory X product deserves ranked opposition. What do you have for us on the featherweights, Onama and Chikadze?
Very, very interesting fight here. I think that when you're a trickster, when you kind of have 1 or 2 moves up your sleeve that you're really, really good at, it is to your best advantage to be unknown. And I think Giga, to a certain extent, in mixed martial arts anyway, people weren't really ready for that body kick. If you saw his kickboxing, you realize he could still do that to you. But in MMA, he was utilizing it with great success, especially early on. But I think that people are kind of on to his style. And once they catch on a pattern, I think you're way more vulnerable. And at the very least, there's a blueprint out there to how to beat you. And I think Onama and his team, I would imagine, have been looking at that blueprint and looking for ways to improve on it. Onama is coming in with a lot of momentum right now. He's on a 3-fight win streak. 5 of his last 6 fights are wins. And I also think he's got the pressure style to back Chikadze up and take away a lot of his offense. If Chikadze is moving forward, he's a problem. He's a big problem that can take you out. And Onama likes to lead the dance oftentimes. He's got decent enough footwork if he does get pressed backwards. But I think he's a sophisticated striker enough at this stage and maybe good enough as a grappler where I think he's got the edge here and I think he can win this fight. I think Giga is an awesome fighter, but you kind of know what he's going to do at this point. Onama is still developing and getting better. So give me Onama.
Nicely done. Onama, -170. Chikadze, +142. Giga's 8-2 in the UFC. Bry coming off a loss to Arnold Allen. That was all the way back last July, about 9 months ago, UFC 304. What do you have for us on this one, kid?
Yeah, as Will Smith said, dude, I'm getting Giga with it. You know what I mean? I'm getting Giga with it. I think I'm liking the dog here, and I don't know why. I think I've convinced myself because of the number, because Giga's a little bit, I think in times in his career, has been a little bit arrogant, a little dismissive of people's stand-up. And I think he was like that with Arnold Allen. Arnold Allen outstruck him and beat him up for 3 rounds and only attempted 1 takedown. Didn't need the takedown to beat him up. This is a high-level kickboxer. I think he got humbled a little bit. And you got a Nama who's a freight train. He's coming forward. He's mixing everything up really well. He's becoming a better fighter, better version of himself every time he's in there. But he does get hit. He has been clipped. He's been wobbled before. And when you bring the fight to a Nama, things can get a little shaky. I think this is very interesting. I think this is a closer line than it probably, I think it could be maybe a pick 'em. I understand why Anama's the favorite. That's why I'm going Giga. I like him as a dog here. I think he can do something with striking, and hopefully he learned a lot with the Arnold Allen loss, and he comes out on fire.
All right, co-main event, right back to you, Bry, in Magomed Ankalaev's light heavyweight division. Zhang Mingyang minus 500. 15th ranked Anthony Lionheart Smith plus 380. Retirement fight for the still only 36-year-old Anthony Smith. Ton of MMA miles, of course. This will be his 60th pro fight. 38 pro wins, 34 finishes for my good friend Anthony Lionheart Smith, and I'm excited to see him sort of walk off into the sunset. Bry, China's Zhang Mingyang could be the real deal. He's 10 years Smith's junior. What do you think about the co-main event this weekend?
I love that Anthony Smith is walking off. I think it's time. He's very talented on the desk. Maybe you'll be calling fights with him in the future. He's a very smart guy. A lot of fights. Ended on 60. That's great because the past few years it's been up and down. But for this fight, there's going to be I'm staying on the outside. I'm going to kick this guy's leg up. I'm going to go for it. I think Anthony Smith in KC, which is fairly close to where he's from, I think he's gonna go out there and says this is for everybody. This is for the war we're bringing out. Because how do you pronounce his name? I'm saying Zhang. It's not Zhang, right?
Zhang Mingyang.
Zhang Mingyang's a big, strong, powerful dude with some really good boxing, but his level of competition so far in the UFC has been low. You can't find a better competition record than Anthony Smith, right? You just can't. So I think Anthony Smith is go out there and say, I can compete with this guy. I can bang with this guy. If I get caught, whatever. I don't think he's going to come for a boring fight. I think he's coming for war. With that being said, I like the, I know, fuck it. I'm going Anthony Smith. I can't pick against Anthony Smith. He needs to come out to return the Mac though. I'm going Anthony Smith, return the Mac, please walk out.
I think he will.
Okay, good. Cause that was the best walkout there was. And the number's too big here. Let's say he clips him and wins. Let's go Anthony Smith.
He needs to walk out to that, and it is the return because the version that we saw against Dominic Reyes at UFC 310 last December had not even begun to mourn the loss of his best friend and coach Scott Morton, who was in his corner for 58 of those 59 fights.
Crazy.
On the other side, Ken Flo, Zhang Mingyang is perhaps prohibitively favored here 5-1. He has 18 MMA finishes already at 26 years old. So I don't care who you're finishing. As far as I'm concerned, as a light heavyweight, right, whether it's Ozzy Diaz or Brenjison Ribeiro, which was a pretty resounding knockout there, now he's got a veteran legend in his wake, and I think it's the right test at the right time. But, DraftKings Sportsbook tells you Zhang Mingyang's 5-1. So.
Yeah, people are high on him. 100% finish rate, as you mentioned, has a decent amount of subs. I don't think that's where he wants to take this fight, though. That's where Anthony Smith would certainly have not only an advantage, but a huge advantage. Had his first fight at 16 years old. That's crazy. But he is a very powerful and versatile striker. And what's even more, I think, challenging, or what's going to be more challenging for Anthony Smith, is that where Anthony Smith is weak on the feet, it's where Zhang Mingyang is actually strong, and it's on the inside. That's where he really messes you up. At range, Anthony Smith can strike with everybody in that division for the most part. In tight, that's where Zhang Mingyang does his best work, whether it's going to the body, short hooks, attacking you with elbows. This guy, he knows how to throw a shot in tight, and that's where Anthony Smith has to really, really be careful. So I think maybe that's why we're seeing this big line. It's in the pocket where Anthony Smith has to be careful. If they are in the pocket, Anthony Smith has to get to that clinch and take this fight to the ground. That's where he wins this fight. So I don't know. I think he certainly can. And I think that number is attractive for Anthony Smith. I'm going to go with the guy who's on this 11-fight win streak. Anthony Smith right now, 1-3 in his last 4 fights. Kind of have to go with what I've seen so far. And I think that momentum's with Zhang Mingyang right now.
All right, that brings us to the welterweight main event. Right back to Ken Flo on this. 7th-ranked Ian Machado Garry, minus 125, taking on number 13, Carlos Prates, who is plus 105. As we mentioned, line is moving towards the half a pack a day. Carlos Prates was to face Jeff Neal earlier this month at Miami. In Miami, I should say, at UFC 314. Instead, main event here against the credentialed Ian Machado Garry, who's 8-1 in the octagon. Ken Flo, who do you like in a very tight, at least on paper, main event in KC?
This is an awesome fight. And the fact that Ian Machado Garry is taking another one on relative short notice, I think is a good sign. Ian's a guy that's always training, always staying in shape. And I also don't think he makes takes too many risks where he hasn't really thought about it. This is a thinking man's fighter, a guy who thinks about every step he takes. And I don't think he'd be taking this fight unless he was not only a little bit confident, but having a lot of confidence heading into this fight. I think he likes the way he matches up in this fight. And I do too. Every once in a while, I look at a fight and I go, what are people seeing? Like the experiences for Ian Garry. Ian Garry has faced guys like Shavkat, MVP, Jeff Neal. Both guys have fought Magny. That's kind of the one common denominator amongst the two. But for me, what's most concerning maybe for the Carlos Prates fans out there, or maybe should be, is the fact that Ian Garry is going to be the faster guy, and he also has the better footwork. And that typically, combined with the ability to master the kind of range that you want out there, tends to be a recipe for disaster for guys that are a little flat-footed and carry a lot of power. We saw that on full display against guys like Jeff Neal, who has crazy knockout power, but Ian Garry just wasn't having it. And I see him doing a very similar thing here against Carlos Prates, who is certainly going to be one of the most dangerous finishers that Ian Garry has ever faced. And he definitely has to mind his P's and Q's because, Prates just needs one, whether it's a knee or a left hand, he can take you out of there. So I think it's dangerous. I think it's a dangerous fight, but to me, I'm seeing a clear victory for Ian Machado Garry. Maybe I'm wrong on this one, and I need to see more from Carlos Prates. But if Prates beats someone like Ian Machado Garry, then watch the heck out. That means this guy's legit. I haven't seen it against that other high level guy where I'm like, yes, Carlos Prates is going to be that guy like a Jean Silva or a Mauricio Rufy or Kyle Borralho for that matter. Has the team, has the mentorship around him. I'm just waiting for that other, performance again. But because of that, I'm going with Ian Machado Garry.
Nicely done, Kenny. Really well laid out and efficiently at that. And he's a big game player too, right? When the lights shine, he shines more often than not. He won't be 28 until November. Not yet at his fighting prime, and still already one of the best welterweights in the world. Easily could have been tabbed for the title fight. He went the distance with Shavkat Rakhmonov at UFC 310 last December. Of course, Machado Garry takes credit for that torn meniscus that has Shavkat on the mend. So, Prates 4-0 in the UFC, biggest test by far. Kansas City, Missouri backdrop. Brian Petrie, we need your selection on the main event.
Yeah, I wish I could be like Stephen A. Smith and just go counter Kenny and really have like a debate about it. But I mean, he said everything I was thinking. I think it's crazy Ian's this low. I think he gets slept on a lot because, of certain things people think of him. But, the one thing I'll talk about, because Kenny covered everything I was going to go over, the footwork of Ian Garry, the distance management, his striking is very good. His ground game is getting really good. I mean, people forget he had Shavkat Rakhmonov's back and had a rear naked choke. I don't know how close it was, but he attempted that. And Rakhmonov's a beast. So the ground game's a big question, I think, with Prates. I think, the fighting nerds with the gym that they're doing, I think they're ready for it. But what I don't know if he's ready for, the guy smokes a lot of darts. We all talked about it, right? Has he 5 rounds scares me. I mean, is he superhuman that he can just smoke and drink shots after fights and just go 5 rounds, no problem? Because Ian Garry can go 5 rounds, no problem, blindfolded. Ian Gary's a super health conscious guy, vegan, takes care of his body. And then you got Prates, who's like celebrating a cigarette after training. It's very funny, two juxtapositions, which really interested me. So I'm really curious to see how Prates does going 5 rounds. I think Ian Gary's going to maybe keep his distance, stay away a little bit in the beginning and really drag this out. I can even see Ian maybe getting a finish too, because he is a sharpshooter in there as well. And he gets better as the fight goes on as well. I think he gains momentum and he never doubts himself, never doesn't believe in himself. I think his corner does great work as well. And I see Ian Garry, I know a lot of decisions are happening lately for him, but maybe a 3rd or 4th round finish here. Give me Ian Garry. I'm all over it with Kenvo.
Nicotine is actually a performance enhancer in some capacity. So
really?
I would submit to you that, go ahead, Kenny.
I started doing these shooting competitions, and I can't, probably 80% of the guys that I've shot with are taking little vape pens of nicotine or taking a little crack of a cigarette. It helps you focus. It actually does help you kind of
in. Wow.
Yeah. So it's funny how many people are doing that to kind of get a little performance edge, but that's
if he loses, same page, Ken Flo. If Carlos Prates loses, I can assure you it won't be because of the cigarettes. And I don't think his championship cardio, if you're on that type of trajectory, would be affected by 6 to 8 cigarettes
look at that.
a day. Carlos Prates has won 11 straight fights. He goes for 12 in a row this weekend. All right, our final order of business, you know what it is. Place your bets, brought to you by johnanik.com, where you can get 15% off your order with promo code OneMoreSleep. We also encourage you to go to kennyflorian.com. And if you're a pro fighter or an amateur fighter in MMA, why would you not go to kennyflorian.com, use code TRAINING50 for $50 off Ken Flo's online jiu-jitsu essentials course? Now, I don't need it, right? But I think for a lot of people, I think if I'm a UFC fighter and I'm young in my career, I'm thinking long and hard about kennyflorian.com. All right, Bri, $1,000 to spend. UFC Fight Night, Machado Garry versus Prates. How you laying out your action, kid?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm down low. I'm down big. You know what I mean? I got rookie numbers. I need to bump those up. So I'm gonna do a little out of ordinary, a little out of character. I'm a straight wager guy. I'm going parlay. I'm going 2-leg parlay, right? I'm going Ian Garry. I'm going Michelle Pereira. That's plus 213 on DraftKings right now. Give me $1,000 on it. Lay in the whole brick. Take my money. Let's go.
All right, Ian Machado Garry and Michelle Pereira, $1,000 parlay. What does it pay, Bri?
It's plus 213 right now on DraftKings.
Plus 213. How bad are you down? Has anybody updated the numbers?
Yeah, I got you right now. I can tell you my numbers. It's as of last week, we are 3,545 down, negative. Okay. Yeah, all so right. We need to make some work.
All right. Cody emailed me before the show, but I got a lot going on. You know, I got sort of a residual Disney World / Universal Studios hangover. Bri, you a roller coaster guy or no?
I'm at Kings Island. Yes, I popped an eardrum on a roller coaster a long time ago. I have big inner ears, so when I ride a roller coaster, I'm white for the day. So the answer is no.
Got it. All right, Kenny Florian, $1,000 to spend as you look to pad your lead here in 2025. Who do you like?
All right, I'm going to go with $400 on Randy Brown.
Goodbye.
I'm going to go $400. Actually, I'm going to go $200 on Pereira. And I'm going to go $400 on Ian Machado Garry.
Thought you might go full stack, full band on Ian Machado Garry, given the conviction. But if you want more from Brian Petrie, you see it right there at Brian Petrie MMA, host of the MMA Takes podcast, sponsoring fighters left and right. Thank you, buddy. Great to see you. We'll talk to you next Monday in advance of another UFC Fight Night, I think it is.
You're awesome. Yeah. You're awesome, boys. I'll see you.
Thank you, buddy. Get back to the chili. All right. That does it for the Main Event Challenge. Place your bets. We got to get on out of here. Thanks to Ray Longo. Don't forget to download the John Anik app. We are giving away fighter cards left and right. Thanks to everybody for getting on over there. It is free to download on the App Store. Not now, but right now. Our producer is Cody Merrow. We are back with you next Monday as we spin this thing forward and we see who emerges on what is a massive night, not just for a lot of ranked fighters, but for the welterweight division. Will it be Ian Machado Garry or Carlos Prates? We recap it with you on Monday. Thanks for being here live. To those of you for whom that applies, we'll talk to you next Monday. Until then, for Ken Flo, I'm John Anik. You'll fucking later.
I love this shit.